What's happening, everyone? Final boss round back again. Excited as ever. It's June time, and you guys know what that means. Video game Christmas is right around the corner. As a matter of fact, E3 2021 is set to actually be kicking off next week around June 12th. That's Saturday, for those of you who weren't aware quite yet. And we have a lot to look forward from in the near future, from the gaming giants alike all the way down to some intricate developers as well. And considering that E3 2020, as best as I can remember, was canceled last year, and a lot of developers and publishers kind of switched things up and did like their own virtual event, it's going to be refreshing to see everyone kind of come back together underneath still a virtual roof. And maybe we'll get some good announcements with regards to a lot of things that may have been tabled so far, just for any announcements that were probably slated for 2020 if they got pushed on the back burner to 2021. This would be the place that we'll see that information come up. Of course, as you guys know, E3 is a very big stage for a lot of developers and gaming companies to come out with their big right hook haymakers with regards to gaming announcements, any different genres they might be breaking into with new IPs. Other than that, for news and reveals, we usually only get that other flood of information when we get to the Game Awards down later on in the year. Normally, E3 is it from a worldwide point where all gamers are tuning in, understanding how hard their wallet's going to be hit once November and December roll around. So for these videos, we'll take more of a rapid fire approach as we'll look at the specific developers, kind of going in order of the way the lineup is, in order to serve as a predictive point to cover the information that we know is valid that will be showing up from these developers in relations to news, and then taking a look and speculating based on the information we would like to see come out from these devs, looking at the known knowns that there are already set to be in. So with that being said, we'll jump right into it first with Ubisoft. Now, technically, they do come up first on June 12th, Saturday. I think their start time is going to be about 12 p.m. Pacific, so that's 3 p.m. Eastern, based on wherever you guys are currently watching this video and preparing to watch the conference. However, before that, actually, if you guys were aware, EA is pseudo coming first. They're focusing a lot on the Battlefield 6 reveal that'll be approaching, covering all the information that revolves around the storyline, the timeline, as well as the multiplayer features of what we can expect. And I'm hoping to see, of course it goes without saying, that at this point, any first-person shooter game or shooter game in general gets their own BRs at this point. So definitely hearing about the success that Battlefield 5's Firestorm mode had, hearing how most of the player base was pretty behind and into the system. I want to see how they bring it over into Battlefield 6. I believe it's supposed to be a modern / more futuristic type setting. So seeing how that plays out and the mechanics behind the BR, it'd definitely be a breath of fresh air, as we've been stagnating with just a lot of Warzone and Apex just kind of dominating the BR space, even Fortnite to an extent. I know it's dropped off a little bit, but of course when the event goes live, if I can catch it, I'll stream it here on the channel too, so we can kind of watch and be surprised together. If I can't make it though, I'll definitely do a reaction for whatever we see from Battlefield 6, covering all the good chunky bits that we get. Moving into Ubisoft, or Ubisoft, however you guys say it, they are the first runners up for E3. They're starting their performance. They're starting their conference at 12 p.m. Pacific time, and we should be able to see, at least from that, just kind of the slate of what's already been announced. With Ubisoft, at least from what I've seen, there's not a lot of surprise like news or haymakers that come out of left field. I mean, they've kind of almost fallen into the same slate that, let's say, Microsoft would have, where they kind of have 3 franchises we usually see come out or just be alluded to. Those franchises specifically being Just Dance, Far Cry, and as well Assassin's Creed. With that, Far Cry 6 is almost here too, if I'm not mistaken, so I think we'll definitely be seeing a bit of gameplay walkthrough, checking out the setting, understanding if maybe there have been any new mechanics that have implemented. I do hope it has its multiplayer mode, as I find it better to play those kinds of games with a friend. At least from how large the world can be, the 2-player mischief is definitely one thing that draws me to play Far Cry whenever we get the chance to. So Far Cry 6, definitely on the list, confirmed 100%. We definitely will see, along the line of 100% confirmation of something we'll see. Just Dance 2021, I would be honestly surprised if maybe at this point they don't just switch it over to a subscription-based game, even if it's a free-to-play model or you kind of just pay for the game and it gets updated. I think that's what's been happening, but we'll see. Of course, they always have the budget to just have like a circus act happen on stage, so we'll definitely see some more Just Dancing from there. And so the semi-elephant in the room is going to be Assassin's Creed. Far Cry and Assassin's Creed, and even Just Dancing to that extent, we could say are all competing to necessarily be like the Madden of the Ubisoft games. One could say that even in that aspect, that Far Cry would maybe be a FIFA or the, you know, vice versa. They're all the same thing. They usually come out on a yearly, bi-yearly cycle. So maybe not 100% confirmed, at least from the news that's been coming out, that we'll see a new Assassin's Creed. If anything, I think we'll see more of a DLC pack for anything that should be happening with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I know for a while, even before Origins came out, everyone was clamoring for Assassin's Creed feudalism or samurai, and we never got it, but we did get pretty interesting settings with relations to Egypt, Greece, and the, you know, Norse mythology. Forgive me, I don't know the area. I'm still playing Origins whenever I can be bothered to actually go clear out my backlog as is. So a new Assassin's Creed, while it will add on to the backlog stack, I don't think it'll be showing up. However, if it does, I would definitely like to see, of course, as everyone else probably would, the samurai element to Assassin's Creed, as well as, at least from a features aspect, bringing back maybe multiplayer or even kind of like the Assassin's Guild feature that they had implemented back in like Assassin's Creed 2, where you were like recruiting people into the guild and having them do missions for you. That'll definitely get me back into the series. It would be something I'd like to see. And that's basically about it. From all the known knowns that we know are going to show up in the Ubisoft press conference, you know, definitely expect Far Cry 6, Just Dancing, nothing about Assassin's Creed, if anything. What I would like to see, though, just going off of the list of speculation, at least from my point of view, there's two things that I would want to see, and I believe they're from the same team. Some announcement towards if there might be a Division 2 update or maybe a Division 3 in the future. However, what I'm more leaning along the lines to is I do want to see at least just a rough idea or concept regarding the Star Wars game that they announced that they were doing with the Division team as well. I'm really interested to see what world they put that game in, as well as how the systems and mechanics put in place in a game like the Division would transfer over to Star Wars. I think it would be really well done. My only question from a character archetype aspect is who is actually going to end up be getting used, especially if we're using systems from the Division. Of course, there's going to be some new things that roll out, but I don't necessarily see it consisting of Jedi. And I know that's what we all love Star Wars for, Jedi, Sith, you know, lightsaber action and all that kinds of stuff. I think maybe going into more of a bounty hunter like territory, making Jedi and Sith and all the lightsaber wielders more enemies that we're hunting down to kind of give us a raid boss aspect. Outside of just seeing the Star Wars information, I also would want to see if maybe there's a new Rainbow Six in the works. I think Rainbow Six Siege has been running about as long as GTA 5 has, even when it came back out on the 360. While Siege is there and it exists and it plays more towards a competitive shooter element, I wonder if maybe we could get a new Rainbow Six that might focus more on a different type of tactical play, maybe PvE of some kind, or maybe I think you would call it PvE, where instead of it being a multiplayer shooter based on two teams fighting each other, two teams would be competing against each other, clearing different scenarios out. So how well does one team infiltrate and extract a hostage better than the other? I think that would be a cool shakeup for the Rainbow Six team, because the multiplayer that exists in Siege, I don't see it really changing where it's at. I don't see them necessarily implementing another multiplayer shooter when one is already kind of consistently working for them and they can just work to continuously update that. If anything, they can separate and kind of have two different crowds enter into the Rainbow Six franchise, whether it is that competitive, you know, time-based element, or they want to go over into the shooter mode from Siege. Of course, there are plenty of ways to get into Siege. I think it's on Game Pass as well. It might be free if I'm not mistaken. So with that, I'll send it back to you viewers. What are you guys expecting to see come out of Ubisoft's press conference in any of the games you've played once, twice, or maybe are even a complete nut job fan over? Is Far Cry 6 going to be something you pick up day one? Would you absolutely lose it over a new Assassin's Creed? Or do you think it should maybe go towards the Rainbow Six franchise at this point? Of course, guys, leave everything in the comments below, as it would be fun to have like a checklist, as once we get towards that Saturday, we start watching the press conference, we can all kind of hold each other accountable for what we guessed might happen, what we guessed wouldn't happen, and all that kinds of stuff. And on top of that too, like the video and subscribe to the channel, so that way when next Saturday rolls around, you'll see our notification that we're going live to check out the press conferences and start to finally kick off Video Game Christmas and hopefully get some decent surprises. As I think we could all say at this point, it's definitely time for a breath of fresh air. With that being said, guys, hopefully you're doing well. Stay tuned. The next video is going to be about Gearbox Entertainment. My name is Final Boss Ron, and I'll see you guys next time.